Hi everyone, this is Sarah, the Education Coordinator at the South Dakota Agricultural Heritage Museum, and today we are going to talk about our new Thinking Thursday series. This is something that I started out just new this week so that I could share different educational resources with you as we are home during this coronavirus closure. Now, these activities that I'm going to share with you on Thinking Thursday, we are going to do activities that you can either do in person or that you could do online in a virtual setting. And you can either do these in the classroom with your students or you can do these for a fun activity at home. So we just wanted to provide a fun new avenue for us to still get educational sources out to you, even though our museum is temporarily closed. So to find our Thinking Thursday series, you can go to our museum website. You can either go to this long museum website name here, so ststate.edu/south-dakota-agricultural-heritage-museum, or you can also just go to agmuseum.com. Nice, short, and sweet, and it'll loop you right back to the site. So after you get on this website, if you scroll down to our menu here on the right-hand side of the page, you can see we have an education tab. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this menu down. And under this menu, you can see a few different pages. So the first two are Make It Monday series, and that's another series like this where I just do an ag-related craft every Monday. But today we're going to focus on Thinking Thursday. So we're going to go ahead and click on that and open that up. You can see I have a short synopsis of what this video series is all about, and then we also have the link to our first activity. So this week we're going to talk about FARMO, or the farm version of the game Bingo. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So today I'm going to go through the directions, what materials you might need, and different ideas for how you can play this game. Now, a lot of us have played the game Bingo before, and so I'm not necessarily going to go into how to play the game Bingo today. But basically, FARMO is just a spin-off of Bingo, but we're going to focus on making it farm-related. And so you can adapt this to any age range that you're playing with, whether you're playing with young kids or middle school age kids, or if you're playing with high school kids as well. This is something that I used in the classroom. I was an ag teacher many years ago, and I use this in my classroom to teach livestock terminology, which is an example that I'll use later on when I'm explaining some different versions of this game. So here we'll always find underneath the short synopsis for the week a helpful how-to video, and that's what we're recording right now. And so it's not quite there yet, but it will be soon. The first thing we're going to go over is materials. So what you'll need is a blank FARMO card, and you'll need one per player. If you want something that you can quick and easy print off, I'm going to scroll down, and right here I have a blank FARMO card. I already have a free space filled in with our museum logo, so you don't have to worry about filling that in. But this is also something that if you don't have a printer, like if you want to play this virtually online with your class or with family members, you can always just have them take a sheet of scratch paper and make a 5x5 grid like a normal bingo card, and they can just write the things in that they need. So if you don't have a printer, it's not a huge deal. So you'll want one blank FARMO card per player that you have. You want to make sure you have some writing utensils on hand just in case. Some of the options that you could play, you might need a scissors. You want to make sure you have some game markers so that you can cross off your different terms or pictures that you see when you're picking names to play the game. And so you'll want 25 per player, and you can use small pieces of paper. You could use M&Ms, Skittles, Cheerios, really anything that you have around the house will work. One thing that I will say is that when I've played this before, I've typically used like M&Ms or Skittles or Cheerios like that. Just make sure your players know to not eat your game markers until after you're done playing the game. Otherwise, they won't have anything to mark their cards off with. You want to provide your students or your kids with FARMO word banks, and so we'll see different examples below for age-appropriate ideas, or you could also use pictures, and again, we'll see examples below for that too. And then you'll also need glue or tape, potentially, if you're using the picture option. So your instructions that you'll start here is that you want to print enough blank FARMO cards so everybody has one. Or like I said before, if you can't print off this image for your whoever is playing, you can always just draw a 5x5 grid of squares. After that, you can start filling in the spots on your FARMO card. Like I said, we have the museum logo in the center for free space. If you can't have access to a printer and you have your students or your kids or whoever you're playing with draw the grid out, make sure you put that free space there in the center. Below, I have some options listed depending on what age level you're playing with. If your players are old enough to write, you can provide them with a list of words so that they can arrange them however they want within their FARMO card, and that way it's randomized for when you go through and pick terms to have them make their bingos. You can also, if your players aren't old enough to write, I do have some FARMO pictures below that I'll go over. And so you'll print that out and have your kids you're working with or your students arrange those, and you can do the same thing as you did before, just to draw those pictures so that you can get your bingos. After you distribute your game markers to your players, again, I have that reminder that they shouldn't eat their game markers until the end if you're using food. You can decide what type of FARMO or bingo you're going to be playing. If you do the traditional option, here, I'll pull up the FARMO card so you can see the full card here. If you're doing traditional, that would be 5 boxes in a row. So you could go diagonally, you could go across, you could go down. You could do 4 corners where you would have the 4 corners filled in. You could do postage stamp where you have these 4 boxes filled in. Or you could do like a traditional blackout where you have to get all of the spots filled in. So once you decide which game you are going to play, I'm going to make this a little bigger so we can read again. Once you decide what game you're going to play, you can have your announcer start calling out your terms randomly or your pictures randomly so that your players can mark off their items and you can have them play bingo or FARMO. And so when you get a bingo or a FARMO, you can have your kids yell out FARMO when they win, just like they'd shout out bingo when you win in traditional bingo. So that is just a quick little tutorial on how to play. We have a blank FARMO card already uploaded for you here. And now below I have some ideas that you could do depending on how old your kiddos are. And so this first FARMO idea, I just have a list of things found around the farm. So you can provide your kids with this list and have them randomly put those items into different spots on your FARMO card up here. And then you can randomly call out those terms. You can write them on little slips of paper and draw them out of a bowl or draw them out of a hat. So you make it randomized. If your kiddos can't spell or write, they can still play. Down here I have a picture set up so that you can have your players cut these out or help cut them out if they have little tiny hands and they can't quite use the scissors yet. But then your students or kids can arrange these randomly on their FARMO cards, and you can use some tape or glue to glue them down once they have them arranged. And then you can also use these as your calling cards. So cut a set up, throw it in a bowl, and you can randomly draw your items that you want to call off. And so there's some different pictures, and I do have the name of what the item is written below it. So if your kids are learning how to read, then they have the picture and they have the word written too. For our third idea, I have livestock terminology, and this is something that I used to play with middle schoolers and high schoolers if we were doing like an animal science unit when I was in the classroom. And so I would have them write down the livestock terms, so like stallion, mare, gelding. I would have them write down what the term is. I would on their bingo cards so that they have all of those written down in a random order. And then when I would go through and call off things for them to mark off, I would call off what the meaning behind the word was. And so instead of calling off the word calf, I would call off newborn cattle. And if I called that phrase out, they would have to mark calf off on their bingo card. Or like if I called off sow, or if I called out adult female pig, they would have to mark sow off on their bingo card. So that's just a way that I made it a little more difficult for our kids who are learning those terminology pieces in the classroom. And so again, this is just a few ways you can play. If you have any other ideas or different ways you want to use the FARMO game, feel free to use whatever terms that you would like to use. Down here at the bottom, I do have a link back to the Thinking Thursday website. As we keep going through our closure temporarily due to the coronavirus, I'll be posting new videos every week. And so you can check back in for different videos as we go. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and contact me. I'm the Museum Education Coordinator, and you can shoot me an email and I will get back to you with any questions you might have. So thanks for watching today, and stay safe and healthy out there.